The God within you, as a spirit, is a part of God or the infinite force, or the spirit of good. As such, you are an ever-growing power which can never diminish and must always expand, just as it has in the past, through countless ages, consistently building you up, augmenting your intelligence to its present mental stature. The power of your mind has been evolving to its current quality and clarity through many more physical lives than the one you are presently living. In each preceding life, you unconsciously augmented its power. Every mental struggle, be it against pain, appetite, the pursuit of greater skill in any endeavor, or the drive for advancement in any art or profession, along with the strife and discontent over your shortcomings and imperfections, represents a genuine thrust of the spirit towards greater potency and a more comprehensive realization of yourself. With such realization comes happiness, for the purpose of existence is happiness. Presently, there is more of you, and a greater abundance of every desirable mental attribute that belongs to you, than ever before. Even the dissatisfaction and discontent you may experience regarding your feelings serve as evidence of this. If your mind were not as clear as it is, it could not discern those failings. You are not in a state of self-complacency as you might have been, thinking yourself entirely correct in every respect. However, you may now, in self-examination, have swung too far in the opposite direction. Because your eyes have been suddenly opened to certain faults, you may erroneously believe these faults are continuously increasing. They are not. The God within yourself, the ever-growing power within yourself, has enabled you to perceive an incompleteness in your character. Yet, that incompleteness was never so proximate to relative fulfillment as it is now. The most compelling proof of this is that you can now discern what you never saw or felt within yourself before. You may have a cavity full of vermin and stale air beneath your house. You were in a much worse condition before the cavity was discovered, repugnant as it may now be to you. Rest assured, now that it has been found, it will be cleansed. Similarly, there may be recesses in our mental framework teeming with detrimental elements. There is no reason for discouragement. As the God within ourselves brings them to light, there is no need to lament, "I am such an imperfect creature. I'm certain I can never rectify all my faults." Yes, you can. You are mending them now. Each protest of your mind against your shortcomings propels the spirit forward. However, it is unrealistic to expect to correct them all in an hour, a day, a week, or even a year. There will never be a moment in your future existence where you cannot identify areas for self-improvement. If you perceive the potential for enhancement, you must, of course, recognize the flaw to be enhanced. In other words, you perceive an even greater fulfillment, a more intricate elaboration, a finer delineation of your character, a more sophisticated distribution of the force that is ever flowing to you. Thus, you will cease to fret over your imperfection. When you realize, as you will, that you are one of the temples of God, continually constructed by yourself into ever-increasing magnificence, you will understand that no talent of yours ever ceases to grow, just as a tree does not halt its growth in the winter. If you are learning to paint, draw, act, speak in public, or engage in any pursuit, and you abandon your practice entirely for a month, a year, or even 2 years, then return to it, you will discover that an augmentation of that talent has transpired. You will have new ideas regarding it and a new proficiency in execution. You may wonder, what is the purpose of life? In a sense, you do not chart your own course in life. There is a destiny that steers it, a law that governs and propels it toward an ever-expanding and limitless capacity for happiness. As your power augments, and it must, you cannot halt your growth. Despite all appearances to the contrary, the pain you have endured has been a result of the growth of the Spirit, pressing you harder and harder against that which caused you misery. This, in turn, leads you to recognize the pain as proof that you were on a misguided path, from which you must promptly redirect. When you earnestly cry out and ardently seek to discern the right path, something will inevitably come forth to guide you, for it is a natural law that every earnest call is met with a response. An earnest plea or prayer for anything always brings the necessary supply. What is the purpose of life? It is to extract the utmost happiness from it, to learn to live in a manner that every forthcoming day is anticipated with the assurance that it will be as fulfilling, if not more so, than the day we currently inhabit. It is to erase even the memory that time can drag sluggishly. It is to be grateful for our existence, to rise above sickness or pain, to exert dominion over the body through the power of spirit, rendering it impervious to pain. It is to exercise mastery over our thoughts, allowing them to perpetually flourish in power. It is to labor and act independently, detached and distant from our body, such that it yields all that we require in terms of shelter, land, sustenance, and clothing, all without infringing upon or unjustly affecting others. It is to increase in power, so that the spirit may consistently revitalize, reinvigorate, and rejuvenate the body, as long as we wish to utilize it, ensuring that no part or organ weakens, withers, or decays. It is to forever explore new sources of entertainment for ourselves and others. It is to brim with such joy and usefulness for others that our presence is a welcome one. To be no one's adversary, but everyone's ally, such is the destiny of life in realms where beings are as genuine as we, and much more animated, having acquired and continuing to acquire the art of extracting the utmost from life, reaching the inevitable destiny of each individual spirit. You cannot evade ultimate and enduring happiness as you progress ceaselessly in this existence and others. All the pains you undergo or have undergone serve as goads and prods to steer you away from the erroneous paths, compelling you to adhere to the law. The more sensitive you become, the more distinctly you will discern the law leading away from all suffering and towards greater happiness, towards a state of mind where it is sheer ecstasy to live. Time dissipates much as it does when we are deeply engrossed or entertained, or when we are captivated by a riveting play or spectacle. Thus, in the words of a biblical account, a day shall be as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as a day. The Hindu concept of nirvana encompasses all the potentials of life arriving on our planet. Nirvana signifies the tranquility, serenity, and assuredness of mind that arises from the absolute conviction that every endeavor we embark upon must meet with success, and that the happiness we experience this month is but a stepping stone to even greater joy in the next. If you felt the foreign travel you presently yearn for and envision was as definite as the rising of the sun this morning, if you knew that you would attain a distinct and individual proficiency and triumph in painting, oratory, acting, sculpting, or any art, just as assuredly as you know you can descend a flight of stairs, you would not, of course, experience any unease. In all our relatively perfected lives, we shall know this, for we shall be certain, beyond any doubt, that when we concentrate our mental force or thought on any plan, pursuit, or undertaking, we are at work determining the attractive force of thought substance, drawing to us the means, agencies, forces, or individuals necessary to carry out that plan, just as surely as the force of muscle applied to a line draws a ship to its pier. You would worry very little. Now, concerning your telegram reaching its destination, while you may know next to nothing about what electricity is, you do understand that when applied in a certain manner, it will convey your message. You have the same confidence that when your thought is regulated and guided by a specific method, it will accomplish for you what you desire. Before mankind comprehended how to harness electricity, it was just as abundant and powerful as it is today. However, as far as our convenience was concerned, it was entirely useless as a messenger due to the lack of knowledge to direct it. The immense power of human thought is in much the same condition for all of us today. It goes to waste because we don't know how to focus and channel it. Worse yet, through ignorance and lifelong habit, we channel our mental energies in the wrong direction, sending forth bolts of ill will, envy, snarls, sneers, or various forms of negativity. All of this constitutes real energy, but it is wrongly and unknowingly directed, which can strike and harm others, and will certainly harm us. Here lies the cornerstone of all successful endeavors in this existence or any other. Never mentally accept an impossibility, never reject what may seem to you the most far-fetched idea with scorn. In doing so, you may not realize what opportunities you are closing the door to. To declare something impossible because it appears so to you is merely training yourself in the perilous habit of dismissing every novel idea as impossible. Your mind then becomes a prison with its doors shut to all external influences, and you, the sole inmate. With God, all things are possible. When you say impossible about what you can do or become, it is a sin. It is a denial of God's ability to work through you. It is a denial of the infinite Spirit's capacity to accomplish through you far beyond what you currently imagine. To say impossible is to establish your relatively limited understanding as the measure of the universe. It is as audacious as attempting to measure boundless space with a yardstick. When you say impossible and I can't, you are creating an immediate impossibility for yourself. Your thought is the greatest obstacle to the possible. It cannot ultimately hinder it. You may resist and hesitate, but there can be no successful resistance against the eternal and unceasing improvement of all things, including yourself. You should say, it is possible for me to become anything I admire. By doing so, you open wide the doors to your own inner temple of art. As long as you say impossible, you keep it closed. Your I can't was the iron bolt sealing that door against you. Your I can't is the force pushing back that bolt. Christ's spirit or thought had the power to command the elements and calm the storm. Your spirit, as a part of the greater whole, holds within it the same potential, waiting for fruition. Christ, through the power of concentrating the unseen element of his thought, could transform that unseen element into the seen and materialize loaves and fishes. This power resides in every spirit, and every spirit is evolving toward such power. You see today a robust baby boy. He may not be able to lift a pound, but you know that within that feeble child lies the potential and possibilities that, 20 years from now, may enable him to lift 200 pounds with ease. Likewise, the greater power, the forthcoming spiritual power, can be foreseen for us, who are now relatively spiritual infants. The reason for life's unhappiness in this realm of existence is that we lack knowledge of the law, often going against it, and consequently, we experience its pains instead of its pleasures. The law cannot be entirely grasped through past records or the experiences of others, regardless of the level of their attainment. While such records or lives can serve as valuable suggestions, there are overarching principles that apply universally, but also individualized laws that pertain to each separate and unique individual. You cannot directly follow my path in the pursuit of happiness and self-improvement, nor can I in yours, for each of us is composed of a distinct combination of elements that have entered and shaped our spirits, our true selves, over the course of evolutionary ages. To attain lasting happiness, you must personally study and discern what your nature necessitates. You are a book unto yourself. You must diligently open this book, page after page, and chapter after chapter as they unfold with the experiences of each day, each month, each year, and read them. No one else can read them for you as you can for yourself. No one else can think exactly as you do, feel as you feel, or be impacted in precisely the same way by external forces or individuals around you. Hence, no other person can determine what you truly need to enhance your life, to make it more fulfilled, more perfect, and ultimately happier, as effectively as you can for yourself. You must discern what associations are most beneficial for you, what dietary choices suit you best, and what approaches in any field, be it business, art, or profession, yield the most favorable outcomes for you. Engaging in discussions with others who share similar interests can be immensely helpful. Moreover, seeking guidance from those with a broader knowledge of general laws can be of great assistance. Regularly convening with earnest, sincere, and genuine individuals who also have distinct objectives to accomplish can provide you with the vigor, courage, and fresh ideas needed to pursue your undertakings. However, once you accept any individual as an infallible guide or authority and rigidly adhere to their directives, you veer off the main track. At that point, you are subjecting yourself to another person's experiments, formed from their specific combination of elements or chemicals, and the outcome of those experiments becomes the standard for your own unique combination of elements. Given that your combination may be vastly different and react distinctively to external elements, how could anyone, other than yourself, deduce the specific action of your individual composition? While there are overarching laws, each individual must apply these general principles to their own circumstances. It is a universal law that wind propels a ship, but not every vessel employs the air in precisely the same manner. Similarly, it is a universal law that thought is a force, constantly influencing outcomes for others far beyond our physical bodies. The quality and efficacy of our thoughts in influencing outcomes greatly hinges on our associations. Therefore, if yours is the superior thought or power, I observe that through its application, you are advancing in the world. I would not personally choose your circle of acquaintances or adopt your way of life. I may test your methods as experiments, but it is crucial to remember that they are, in essence, experiments. I must steer clear of the all too common mistake of blindly emulating and idolizing another. Christ of Nazareth once cautioned certain of his followers not to venerate him. "Call me not good," he said, "there is none good save God alone." Christ asserted, "I am the way and the life," which, as I interpret the text, means that he was aware of certain general laws that governed him as a spirit. He could impart specific information concerning these laws. However, he never claimed that his individual life, with all its human frailties and imperfections, should be strictly replicated. He did not entreat the infinite Spirit of good for more strength or to be freed from the fear of his impending crucifixion. In doing so, he acknowledged that, powerful as he was, he, like any other spirit, needed assistance. Recognizing this, he declined to exalt himself above the followers of God or the infinite. Instead, he instructed them that when they felt compelled to bow before the almighty, incomprehensible power from which all good emanates, it should be to worship God alone, the eternal, unfathomable, propelling force of the boundless universe. This power, which no one has ever seen, nor ever will see in its entirety, except as they witness its diverse manifestations in suns, stars, clouds, winds, birds, beasts, flowers, animals, or in human beings evolving into future angels or archangels, continually ascends to higher levels of mind and greater degrees of power. Yet, it always directs its gaze towards the source from which its power originates. It never worships any single form of such expression. In doing so, it would elevate the created above the Creator. This power is presently at work within every man, woman, and child on this planet. To use the biblical expression, it is God working in and through us. We are all integral components of this infinite power, an ever-ascending force leading us to loftier, more refined, and happier states of existence. Every man or woman, regardless of their lifestyle or intellectual prowess, is a more robust and superior version of themselves than they ever were before, despite any apparent contradictions. The inclination within human nature and all forms of nature, whether expressed through spirit or matter, to become increasingly refined is, up to a certain level of growth of mind, an unconscious inclination. The godly desire is at work even in the lowest drunkard, wallowing in the gutter. That person's spirit yearns to lift them out of that squalor. It is at work in the most prolific liar, whispering, however faintly, that the truth is superior. It is active in individuals who may be deemed despicable and vile. When Christ was asked how often one should forgive another's transgressions, he responded in a manner implying that there should be no limit to the forgiveness one man or woman extends to another for their faults or immaturity. There should be no limit to the kind and benevolent thoughts we harbor or express towards another person who frequently stumbles, who grapples with some unnatural craving. It is often a great harm, albeit unwittingly done, to declare or think of an intemperate person, "Oh, he's gone to the dogs, there's no use in doing anything more for him." Such sentiments introduce a sense of hopelessness and discouragement into the air. When this sentiment reaches that person, they will feel it, and to them, it acts as an impediment to their escape from the quagmire they find themselves in. Similarly, someone else's similar thought has affected us in our endeavor to extricate ourselves from some sluggish state we were in, or still find ourselves in. It could be the sluggishness of indecision, despondency, ill temper, or envious, hateful thoughts. Yet, the spirit of man grows stronger with every struggle against these challenges. It becomes mightier by contending with your censorious and uncharitable thoughts. Eventually, it propels a man or woman to a point where they may, in thought, say to others, "I value your approval more than your criticism, yet I am not reliant on either for my most stringent judgment, and certain consequences of any wrongdoing stem from my own mind, the divine essence within me, from whose judgment and disapproval there is no escape." However, as the spirit becomes increasingly clear-sighted, so does the inner judge within us grow more and more merciful towards its own heirs. It understands that, in a way, as we refine from coarser to finer expression, a certain amount of wrongdoing must be contended with, fought against, and ultimately, inevitably, overcome. Every man and woman is destined to grapple with a certain degree of imperfection until the spirit triumphs over such flaws. It must overcome, for it is the nature of spirit to strive against defect, a quality impossible for man to remove from his own spirit. This quality is the innate tendency of the spirit to perpetually ascend towards greater power and happiness. If one were to use this as an excuse to sin, to engage in excess, lie, steal, or commit murder, asserting, "I can't help it, I am predestined to it," they would still face punishment, not necessarily under man-made laws, but under the natural or divine law, which carries its own consequences for every possible transgression, be it murder, lust, falsehood, theft, malicious thoughts, or gluttony. Countless individuals today are suffering the consequences of their transgressions, committed in ignorance of the laws of life. The pain of such retribution has become so intense and weighs so heavily on so many that there is now a greater yearning than ever before to comprehend these laws. As a result, this desire is being met, and these inquiries are being addressed. It is the inexorable law of nature that what the human mind seeks, it eventually attains, and the more minds that earnestly seek, the sooner the demand is met and the questions are answered. Only a few years ago, relatively speaking, the human mind's call for greater speed and travel was answered with the advent of electricity. It met the need for swifter communication between individuals. These are like beacons, pointing towards the discovery and utilization of greater powers, not only in the external elements but also in the unseen elements that constitute man and woman, as well as in the unseen elements that compose you and me. From this point forward, our race will begin to transcend its crude or evil expressions, not out of fear of the penalties that arise from violating the law, but because it will be drawn towards a wiser path by the joy that accompanies following the law as we come to understand it ourselves. We eat moderately because experience has shown that the greater pleasure arises from moderation. You are kind, gentle, and considerate to your friend, not because you are constantly haunted by the fear of losing that friend if you are not kind and considerate, but because it brings you joy, and you take delight in performing acts of kindness. In the past, human and even divine law, as interpreted by human understanding, have incessantly emphasized, "You must not do this or that, or else you will face punishment." God has often been portrayed as a stern, merciless, vengeful deity, and the preacher's sermons have been centered on penalties and retribution. Humanity is to put aside thoughts of penalty and retribution, for it is to be enticed and drawn towards greater goodness, purity, and refinement by the ever-increasing joys that come to us as we refine. The caution of penalty was necessary when humanity was more unrefined, and it could only be reached through punishment. The race was in darkness, and as a necessity of its condition, it had to be kept somewhere near the right path through a series of painful prods and jabs with the sharp goad of penalty. However, as we begin to see more clearly, as we do now, the more awakened and sensitive among our race, we no longer require a rod any more than you need a man with a club to persuade you to attend a feast.